So you've been playing Gothic 2 for many years, or you are new but find it a bit hard to get into the setting due to its age? Well, here I will teach you how to mod and graphically improve the textures and lighting of the game. Now I'd like to first specify it is way easier to use Steam for this because of the workshop. Otherwise you would have to go to the World of Gothic website and manually install all the mods, which I find a bit tedious, and the workshop makes everything a little bit better. The first thing you want to do, and it's very important, is to make sure once you've installed the game, you go to your properties, to your betas, and you make sure you choose the workshop beta. This will make it so that when you open the game, you will have a short window for the workshop and all the mods you've specifically downloaded for your game. Now I have a bunch here, but it's technically not all needed to make the game look better. So the first thing you want to do is, obviously you have an option to go to the workshop right here on the top left, or otherwise you could click the workshop on the normal Steam library page. Now the best trick to do is technically just go to your most subscribed and look up the entire list, and you'll see there is a bunch of mods that you can install. Now, not all of that, it doesn't mean you can just simply install everything and make it look fantastic. It doesn't work like that. You can't just install 6 versions of the Liver Edition and Golden Gate and the Gold Remaster, because these are mostly other conversions, or they just completely change the game one way or another. No, for this video specifically, I will be teaching you how to just mod Vanilla Gothic. Obviously, you can play Vanilla Plus games like Nostalgic Edition or Ataria, which are available at the workshop, but in my case, it's just about the normal game. The mods I make sure to use are usually the Union, the patch for Gothic 2. This is to make it so that all the extra Union plugins work for the game, which is also why it's technically the most downloaded mod in the workshop. The 3D11 renderer mod, which is basically the one important thing to install. You could technically skip everything else, but if you want to have your game look amazing, you will have to make sure to download the D3D11 renderer mod. You just click it and you hit subscribe, and then it will show up in your workshop page. Usually there will be a download for the game because it needs to be updated. Now I have specifically other mods like the Union Advanced Inventory, because the inventory in the game is kind of a mess. Quick Loot, because the looting animation can take a while and there's a lot to loot in the game. I have a Thief Helper. This is more flavor. This is what you'd like to have. Some people download the Gothic screen info. I don't specifically want it. I don't need to have that much detail in my game. The texture pack by Artemiano will make sure the game will look even better, because it's a very carefully put out mod, and that works very well with the D3D11 renderer. And you can pretty much choose, mix and match whichever mod you want to have it to work. Pick whichever mod you want, click the page, check the details if it's needed, and then just subscribe. And once you're subscribed to it, it will show up in your workshop folder. Now, usually there is a rule to which one applies first. I'm not that experienced with it, I'll be honest. That's just the way it is. I'm currently also using Ninja. I do want to warn everyone that as of right now, Ninja gets flagged for a virus, which shouldn't be a thing. I think it's a certificate issue, but you can exclude it from your Defender or antivirus if needed. That's basically it. Then you click Gothic 2 Gold Edition and you get into the game. And pretty much once you just start up the game and you get through the initial dialogue and the intro cutscenes, you're basically ready to play a remastered version of the Gothic 2 game. Now basically, before you finish watching the video, there's one important thing I'd like to mention, and that's the D3D11 renderer. The thing is, it can be customized, and that's pretty important because maybe your computer might not be able to handle some of the things. But in general, I feel like this already looks 10 times better than what Gothic 2 used to look like. Now, I don't necessarily dislike how it used to look like. I've played it to death at that time, but I feel like sometimes it's necessary to just make a couple graphical improvements and just enjoy the game in a different light. But there's 2 things you can do. They're exactly the same thing. You can go to your option settings and go to visual, change the range of view, object fading, model, textures, blah, blah, blah. All these to make it look a little bit better. But the more important one is the video setting. Once you click the video settings, this screen will pop up. The screen also pops up if you press F11. That means you have this setting window. Now I currently play in 1440p. The texture quality I have on ultra high. There's a full screen borderless, which I enjoy a lot because I usually stream or play this game. The shadow quality can go all the way up to ultra high. You can notice a little bit of a difference. The game does take a while to load in. If you go all the way low, you already notice that everything is very smoothened out and it will get sharper as you put it in its highest setting. But I usually leave it on very high just because I'm recording and sometimes in certain areas it doesn't work that well. You can change the object draw distance as well. The small object, I usually leave this around 20 to 30 and I leave the object distance to 50. The visual effects draw distance can go to 10. You won't really need to have it that high. The world draw distance is important. You can see lowest option makes the fog appear closer to you. And obviously at 20, you won't have this issue. There's currently a wind effect available, but I have not seen this happen yet, but I didn't have enough time to test it. I usually have all these settings on the left on. I feel like they are pretty useful. Some people might say that the HDR looks worse, so they rather turn it off. I specifically enjoy the HDR version. It makes the game pop out a bit more, but if you like to have that gritty look, then turn the HDR off. But this is basically the way to remaster Gothic 2. Now, I do have to say though, most of the work is done from the D3D11 renderer and the texture pack. Those are kind of the only mods you really need, but otherwise the other ones are just for flavor. As I said, there's the inventory that makes everything better, but because I currently don't have anything, there's no categorization, and obviously there's some other mods that make everything look better. The experience bar on the bottom side, you can usually go to either options and the plugins. These ones change the XP bar, Thief Helper, and advanced inventory. Some of these things are half German, half English. I use English because I don't fully understand German yet. I'm working on that part. And obviously, if you go to the normal screen, you still have patches. Now, I have this one for infinite sprint, and I usually have the setting that if I reach strength 40, I am able to use the sprint animation. Now, there are also mods that makes it so that your stamina uses sprint, yada yada. There's a lot to customize, but in general, if you want to remaster it, genuinely the D3D11 renderer and the texture pack by Artemiano will make the game look amazing. Anyways, thank you all for watching. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I'll see you all in the next video. Take care. Peace.